iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.
Having almost opened Almost Famous on Broadway is one of the most unbelievable experiences of my life.
It's been the most rewarding experience of my career.
It's spectacular. I mean, we're having such a blast doing the show and really dialing in what this thing is going to be. Previews are just a magical and confusing time where scenes are cut and scenes are added back and lines are changed and entrances and exits are switched and costumes are changed and new musical numbers appear and yeah, it's some nights it's a little like we're flying by the seat of our pants and that's part of the magic though, you know, is the process of exploring and working with the reaction of the audience to figure out what the best version of the show is. And we're having a great time.
My mindset is that it is surreal. Every day I pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming. It is truly the creative dream team. You know, Cameron is obvious, his career speaks for itself, but he is even nicer in person than he is talented, and he's one of the greatest in the business. Tom, who already has an illustrious career, is doing the best work he's ever done here. And Jeremy's direction is astounding. The pictures he's creating on the stage and the story that he's telling blows my mind every day. And Leah, our producer, put together all of this with like such grace, and the fact that we are all here in this room together is manifesting in this really beautiful picture that I think people are going to respond to, and the fact that I get to be a part of that is the biggest dream come true anybody could ever have.
It's a movie about loving music, so how can you then not add music? But I think what they did that was brilliant is that they didn't just make it a jukebox musical. They didn't just use the soundtrack, which is chock full of fantastic songs that would make a really exciting evening. But Tom Kitt's music coming in and helping with the storytelling, the way that he magically manages to weave the existing songs from the soundtrack in and here, there, and everywhere throughout his original music, it is masterful. It is beautiful. It is Tom Kitt's best work, I think, and I'm biased, but and the partnership of Tom Kitt and Cameron Crowe, it is stunning.
This is my favorite of the stuff he's written. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm here singing it every night. But yeah, I think he really nailed the pulse of this 1973 vibe. Some songs, some moments. You know, even my wife was asking me after, is that Tom or is that a needle drop? Because some of the musical moments just really feel of the period, of the era, and you know, sonically they just match. And the way that he's woven in and out of, you know, us singing actual Led Zeppelin songs and then into a Tom Kitt original, it segues so beautifully, and it all moves the story. Or comments on it in a way that just feels cohesive.
I'm learning so much, you know, as someone who I intend to be on that side of things at some point in my career too. And I think what's really exciting is that these are three people who are each such titans in their own way. You know, they each have these incredible bodies of work, but they're all so open to collaboration, and they are willing to hear from us. You know, that's kind of rare. And so it's a really cool thing to say to Cameron, like, I love this line from the movie, I wish it was in here, or what about this, or he'll throw new things at us. And so we get to try new things like every night, and it's really exciting. And so they've really allowed the door to be open for collaboration, and I'm really grateful to that, because then it feels like, you know, you can have your hand in this, and it can really feel like it's been tailored to us. And so I think Jeremy said on our first day of rehearsal before, you know, this iteration, our Broadway iteration of this show, he said, you know, this isn't just like an adaptation of this movie, this is our telling of Cameron's life. And because at the end of the day, that's what this is, more than anything, more than this movie that people love. Like, this is Cameron Crowe's life story. And we are all just trying to get to the truth of that and make that as honest and true to his experience as we can. And when we're all rallying around the same exact goal, magic happens, and it's really exciting.
Getting to just experience, you know, the culmination of his career thus far is a privilege. one of the best writers that is working today. And it truly, I don't know if I can disagree with what you said earlier. It is some of just the best music I've heard in a long time. I remember when I listened with my vocal coach for the first time when I was auditioning for the show. I just turned to him and I was like, oh, this is different. Okay.
For me, Cameron Crowe's work has been such an important part of my life. It's spoken to me pretty much my entire life. So the opportunity to get to work with him and help tell this story, this new adaptation of his life story, is the greatest honor. And I feel like Cameron is a poet. How many films of Cameron's have we all quoted to one another? His words are poetry, so it felt like a natural thing to explore the story with new songs, living in the beautiful poetry of Cameron Crowe.
I've actually had a few friends who, surprisingly hadn't ever seen the movie, who have seen the show now, and now they're going to go watch the movie. So I'm interested to hear what that sort of reverse experience is like. But I don't think you need to have seen it to appreciate it. And I think musicals and plays, theatrical productions that are based on any sort of existing material, whether it's an artist's body of work or a novel or, like Almost Famous, a film, they succeed when they allow it to be its own thing. And they've succeeded for me in doing that by focusing on the truth of the storytelling, the reality of who these people are and what they're going through, and just expressing it using music. In a way that Cameron is so notorious for in his films, of just his soundtracks are just epic, and just his selection of when the song drops and what the song is, it is unrivaled. And the fact that we get to actually sing those songs, and some of them are songs from the movie, and some of them are different, and some are originals. But I feel like audiences will simply get to come digest a really stunning piece of live theater.
I am of the mind that I always like to go into seeing things knowing as little about it as possible, because I just want to have the experience of it hit me for the first time when I'm actually watching it. So no, I don't think people need to know anything coming in. And lots of people are like, should I watch the movie first? I think you should watch the movie after, because then you spend the whole experience comparing instead of just enjoying this really beautiful music and the musical that we have to offer.
We've had people who came and saw it in San Diego in our Old Globe run, who were a part of the movie and said that this is just as relevant, if not more so, than the source material. And the fact that it has become a musical feels like a natural transition. The story itself is an exploration of music, and that's what's so beautiful about this story. It is the celebration of music. So Tom coming and writing this illustrious score that just shines for a story that was written by the great maestro Cameron Crowe has just become this amazing oneness of storytelling that I've never experienced before. And when people leave the theater at night, you can feel the elation. And I think that is the most rewarding part, but I think that's also the evidence that it's working,
It's like every night is a roller coaster for me, because it's my family up there. I see my mom, I see my sister, I see a much cooler version of me, or uncooler version in case he likes. But the challenge is to not fall down the kind of well of nostalgia and feeling, so many memories of my own family. But that's also the plus, because when somebody in front of you kind of turns around with tears in their eyes and says, "Did you write this? Thank you." I think in my mind, thanks to my family for living this life with me.
This cast at this point, these are a lot of my best friends. These are people that I really, really love. And it makes it so much more special that we all get to do that side by side. We are all having this experience together. We've got a couple vets in the room, a bunch of them right here today. But knowing that we are all new to this aspect of things and giving each other grace with that, and that we get to be giddy and that we get to be excited and that we get to totally geek out. This is Broadway and we're doing it like it's so amazing. And I mean, one of the cool things for me, I feel is cool to talk about on to you specifically. I met Drew Gehling at a performance of Waitress when I was like 21. And it's so crazy to me to think that like this, on our first performance, October 3rd, I was like, I was standing next to him and I was like, who would have thought that when I met you all those years ago that I would be taking my first bow on Broadway next to you, this performer that I love and admire and now is one of my close friends. Like, it's a really, really cool feeling, and it just makes everything like so much more special. Yeah.
For me, it's been a dream. I mean, certain kinds of projects stick out in memory of being dreams, and this definitely falls into that category, being able to work with Cameron Crowe and Jeremy Herron and the magical Tom Kitt and our brilliant choreographer Sarah Oglebe and our amazing wig designer Luke Verschuren, who made my wig, whose name is Vanessa. Her name is Vanessa, and she's very, very important. She is the reason for the season, friends. It just has been wonderful, full stop, because we get to collectively, as a group mind, kind of come together to tell this amazing story that is so based in reality. And we get to do that every night, which is such a gift.
Certainly coming to anything that's iconic and beloved, you want to make sure that you can find your own voice in it, serve and honor what everyone loves about it, but also have a chance to explore new tonalities in it. And for me, specifically with the music, knowing we were going to be using some songs from the period, but that we were leaning heavily into a original score, I feel like I wanted to create songs that perhaps someone walking in might not know which are which, and they all feel of one voice. And I've had a couple of friends actually tell me just that when they've seen the show, so that's been the best compliment. This period of music is something that is hugely influential for me. There are many artists that changed the course of my life through music from that period, so it's something I've lived in my whole life, and it felt incredibly creative to get to write new songs in that period. But I also feel like they're contemporary because so many artists of today draw from that period.
So many of them are making their Broadway debut, and I feel like we've grown up together. Like Casey Like said to me the other day, like, I've spent a quarter of my life with you. It's like, whoa, that's amazing. And I guess we have spent that time together. And so they're all feeling it. And, I watch every show and just kind of take that ride with them. And people really feel like they're meeting somebody that they want to get to know for a while. And they will, I think. Mixed in with Drew Gehling and people that you might have seen in other shows. You have Soleil Pfeiffer, you have Casey Likes, you have Rob Coletti, who you've seen maybe once or twice, but never as Lester Bangs, kind of commanding the stage with these beautiful monologues that came from real life.
I did not think my Broadway debut would be at the helm of a show not only this big, but this fantastic. I really like the show, and I can't believe I have this position in the company for forever. I just wanted to step foot on a stage. I would have mopped the floor if I had to, and the fact that I get to do more than that is really, really, really special.
To me, that's the dream come true, that like somebody that never went to the theater, like me when I was a kid, feels that magic and mixed in with some songs they might have known and loved too.
It is utterly surreal because it's that wild thing of feeling like we've been circling Broadway with this show since before the pandemic, and to now finally get to be standing in these seats in this theater is just, it's like coming home.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.